Are you finding you just can't get enough of the Uncommon Life Project? We've got just the solution for you. Go to our website, uncommonwealth.com, and you can click on resources and get your own book for you to explore all of the ways that you can start going down your uncommon path. We hope it really helps. Let's get back to the show.
Everyone dreams about living an uncommon life, but how we define that dream is very different for each of us. And for most, it's a lifelong pursuit. Welcome to the Uncommon Life Project podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living that life or enjoying the journey to get there. We're going to also give you some tools, tricks, and tips for starting or accelerating your own efforts to live an uncommon life, a life worth celebrating and savoring. Please welcome your hosts, Brian Dewhurst and Philip Ramsey.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Uncommon Life Project, where I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I am Brian Dewhurst.
Thank you for tuning in yet another time. I think it's crazy how many people actually listen to this. I'll be walking around like, oh, we just heard your podcast. Thank you. I think that's one, it's just important to say.
Yeah.
Your time is precious. We really feel like it is. At the end of the day, we're advisors who want to educate you on all the options that you have so you can take the right course of action to get you and you achieve your goals. But what we really love to do is unlock the true potential that you have inside of yourself with your own money. It's a little bit different. It's uncommon. That's why we called it that. And the Uncommon Life Project is we're trying to give you tips and tricks, just like our co-host says in the beginning, to try to get you down this uncommon path. Today, we have an amazing guest on the show. I can't wait to get in. I think we're going to be best friends at the end of it, kind of like all of our guests. All right. So it's Mitchell Earl.
The one and only.
The one and only. And so
we're not doing a bio. We're done with the bios.
The bios.
Everyone hates it. No one wants to write one. No one wants to read it. It's awkward.
So the company works for is Praxis. Okay. And here's why we love this company. One, because we were referred to it by a mutual client. They know Praxis, they know us. So they know our core values. Mm-hmm. But what Praxis does, if I was going to just boil it down, is try to help individuals who are trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, give you a college alternative to get you into your dream job. Mm-hmm. Apprenticeships are huge, entrepreneurial spirits. And I know that you guys have all listened to the Junior Achievement podcast we did. It's kind of like Junior Achievement, but like when it matters most, when all these people are like wide-eyed and thinking, oh my goodness, do I go to college or do I not?
Yeah.
So,
and Junior Achievement ends at high school level, and this is post-high school. This is a post-high school alternative or not the alternative. Like this should be one of the main options, I think.
This is.
And that's what we're going to get into.
All right, so. Mitchell, did we do a good job on Praxis? You tell us your family. Give us a little bit about yourself first so our listeners know you.
Yeah, no, thanks for introducing us. Thanks for the enthusiasm about what we're doing and the invitation to join you today. I'm excited to be here. As I always am, to talk about what we do, but also excited about the work you all are doing, taking an uncommon approach to finance, helping people bet on themselves, unlock their true potential in different ways, which is just, as the show title suggests, uncommon today. So, a little bit about me. I am COO of Praxis and have been in this capacity for the past couple of years. We bought the business in 2020, right at the beginning. But funny thing is I'm actually a former participant of the program as well. Oh, wow. I went through it in 2015, 2016. I became close friends with the founder very early on, around that same time. So company was still relatively new at that point. Mm-hmm. But I was out of college. When I went to college, I was dead set on going to medical school. I was the smart kid. That's what everybody told me. You got to be a doctor or a lawyer or work in finance and this very limited career path. And so when I got into college, it all became a lot more confusing. I got involved with a very early stage startup through when I was just starting college, and that kind of opened my eyes to this whole other world. But I stayed with them till I graduated. And by the time I got out, I was like, oh my gosh, I see this entirely other side of the world that I never knew about as a kid, of like being able to take an idea and go be valuable to other people. I want to be involved in that. I want to do business. But the problem was I came out of college with very little tangible skills or know-how. And it was like, okay, well, I don't know how to go break into business. What do I do? I guess the only option I have is to go back to school. So I set my sights next on going back to law school, getting an MBA. And in the meantime, I just went and took whatever jobs I could find. I worked in financial planning for about a year. And then I worked in
you did.
Yeah. And then I worked as an estate planner, as a legal aid for estate planning and tax advising attorneys for, as my next job after that, trying to kind of save up for law school. And that next move, I worked for an economics think tank, putting on conferences across the country. And that's when I met the founder of Praxis. And this is kind of a pivotal point in my story, and also kind of like why Praxis is so personal for me is he asked me a question that nobody had ever asked me. He said, what makes you come alive? It wasn't the question of, hey, what are you studying? What do you do for work? What are you majoring in? It was this different question. It was kind of caught dead in the tracks because that question leaves so much room. It's not asking for permission. It leaves so much room for the opportunities and possibilities. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never really thought about it that way, of is my life about chasing down the things that excite me, or is it more me trying to fit it as a square cog into this like round hole world? And so for me, I was like, oh my gosh, dead in my tracks. He threw a challenge out there for me. He said, you seem like an ambitious young adult who, seems interested in ideas, who's a hard worker. Why would you go back to school? He's like, give me 1 year. If in 1 year, if I can make introductions to you to entrepreneurs, business owners, people who are doing things that excite you, and 1 year from now, you don't have more clarity and direction about where you want to go, then go back to school, because it'll always be there. And I bet hook, line, and sinker. I was like, you know what?
Heck yes.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yes.
So a week or two before law school, I picked up the phone. I was like, I'm not coming. And pretty much the rest is history. I mean, there's lots of other twists and turns there, but that was kind of the beginning of like, oh my gosh, if you bet on yourself, there's this whole other world out there. So.
Yeah. And, we have a lot of content on college and this topic. Actually, the genesis of our book was because Philip and I were speaking to high school seniors, and the constant question is like, well, what do I do with my money?
Yep.
And so we were we got to have a really simple 4-step process. And that was kind of the genesis of the book. But, college planning, and I think we meet with a lot of people, you meet with a lot of people, and a lot of people, I would say parents 45 and under, they say it jokingly like, well, I don't know if college is going to be the way it was for us in 18 years or 15 years. It's going to be different, but no one's presenting like that tangible alternative, know? So I want to be super clear about what Praxis is, because you are an alternative that I think is very tangible. The value proposition is insane, and it's very easy to sink your teeth in. And then the last thing you just said, 1 year is very palatable. If you go into college and you miss, and they're saying now, what is it like? Maybe the statistics, like 60% of the kids change their major. And end up going like 5 years.
More than that.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I think it may even be as high as 70 or 90% change the major, up to 3 times. And like the amount that even work in a field related to their major is in the 20th percentile. So we're talking like, it's really an effective precursor to the career path you want to go.
Right.
Well,
let me land that plane. I think the 1 year is so palatable. Like, it's like, I can give 1 year and see if this works. I just love that.
It's not the gap year. It's intentionality to see if this
absolutely.
So here's something that I think Brian says so much. And he's like, why is the norm to go into debt and go try to find yourself? Like, why is that the norm? Like, and we talk about risk tolerance all the time. And we all know the younger you are, there should be a higher risk tolerance. Is that true or not? And everybody in this whole industry would be like, well, that's true. Well, then why aren't we teaching that to be higher risk tolerance, betting on yourself, than to go in these colleges and like go into assume all this debt and have no idea what you want to do to try to find yourself. Yep. I love Brian's always like, why is that always the first response? And when I heard about Praxis, I was like, yes, like, and then they get out of college and they're like, well, what comes first, experience, chicken or the egg? Experience,
right?
Or like, I don't have experience, but I have all this like knowledge and
in college too. You're working a job typically. Maybe you're working at the student union or a local. Like, it's hard to find a job in what you actually want to do on top of doing college.
Right.
So that's the other part I love about your program. And I think we should kind of get into maybe more of the nuts and bolts of, I just had this analogy in my head. I got to share it. Maybe this is harsh. So I'm going to caveat
Here
it.
we go.
But, I was like, parents that smoke with their kids in the car, I feel like is like child abuse personally, because it's just like, we know that it scientifically hurts your children.
Right.
Parents that send their kids to college and get them into 50 or allow them to get into $50,000 to $100,000 of debt is on that same vein for me. But we don't talk about it like that, like it is that harmful to your child, physically, emotionally, the stress to carry that debt, these payments, all this stuff. Like we've got to almost start talking about it with that kind of a weight, in my opinion, or it's not going to change.
Yeah.
So
let's
pivot
big.
to what your solution is. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll carry it a little bit further on that analogy because I think
appreciate that.
I think I'll say, yes, it is harsh, but it's also there's some truth to it. But one of the things that I have to do is sometimes you got to cut parents slack. You got to cut these young adults slack.
They just don't know.
They just don't know. The
cultural narrative is so strong, and people, it happens at different, you see it at different socioeconomic levels. You've got the really, really we're upper class. There is this intense pressure to go to college as sort of this finishing school experience. It's what you do, you can afford it. And then on the lower end of the rung, it's this is my way out. And that's a really deep psychological, that's a hard thing to break because that's the route that you see. The problem is in the great big middle class and the diminishing middle class is nobody has a better approach. It's, well, if college is not the most practical route, I don't really know what else. I can be a plumber. I can go into the trades. And that doesn't seem really intellectually stimulating to me. And even though it sounds better, it seems better from a financial standpoint or like going out and getting real world experience now, I still don't feel like there's a better option for me that helps me do something that gets me closer to my full potential intellectually. And that's the problem. And it's not just about, hey, you should do Praxis. It's there's not a dialogue that helps people go through that, that conversation objectively of like, what else can I do? There's just a default to college, unfortunately.
Right. And so the smoking analogy, we're going to go to that.
And I'm associating that with debt, not going to college. So I want to make that clear.
I think that's good.
Portion.
But what I would say is the parent doesn't know how bad it is to smoke in the car. And there was a point where the parents just smoked in the car and no one knew. So like, it's almost to that level. They don't know how bad it is. But that's our job, is to try to educate them on like, hey, there's other solutions, not just going through it. So Praxis. Okay. You want to go through the nuts and bolts with it. I want to go in a different direction. Let's go nuts and bolts.
Do your way.
Because I'm going a different direction. Go ahead. What is it?
Well, yeah. Well, you kind of alluded to it. It's a 1-year program. So I want to make it very tangible for our viewers of what it is and the value proposition, quickly. So,
So Praxis is an apprenticeship program. In 12 months, we take people from, I'm not sure what I want to do, or I know I want to start a business someday, or I just want to go get my career started. We take them from that point, help them build some skills, help them begin to build their network, and help them go land their first professional opportunity. So in the first 6 months, we take them through a curriculum, through live workshops, through coaching calls, basically help them build up their portfolio of skills and experiences, help them connect with growing businesses across the country until ultimately they land a full-time job. Once they start working for 6 months, we continue to coach them, make sure they transition into that first professional experience smoothly. They have everything they need to succeed. Then they graduate. The best part about it, though, is our tuition is only $12,000. So our participants, as a rule, they always end up earning more than the cost of tuition before they graduate. So they're going out into the real world, that first step, with momentum rather than, crippling debt around them. It gives them more optionality. It gives them some experience, some better context, but confidence and capability to go navigate their careers.
And I think I read somewhere it was like $50,000 is the average salary when people graduate your program. Is that
correct?
Am I pulling that out of the sky?
Correct.
Or is that true? Okay.
Yep.
So how sweet is that? Like, I got 3 kids that need to. I almost think like this. You should do this before you even go to college. Here's why. And Brian and I are huge on mentorship. Mm-hmm. So the guy that's like just pulled you aside and like basically just presented this offer of like, give me 1 year. Like
Yep.
kudos to him. Kudos for you to listen. But like, that's what I think people are missing is mentors to help them. Like, this is a profession that you really want to get into. So then you go into college if you see that that's important and you have the end goal in mind. And maybe that mentor starts pouring into you and has some responsibility as well to make sure you get through college because they're like telling you to go to college. But like, I love this would be the first thing to try to find yourself and what you're good at.
Right.
Because the world or the way that people think, and especially when you're young, that's just how you do is like, how much am I going to get paid? Well, I want to be an accountant. Lord help us. Philip should not be an accountant. And I want to pull back one thing because you said something. I was like, oh, that's totally a compliment. Thank you. You said, well, yeah, I was smart. I need to be a lawyer, doctor, or financial services. And I was like, oh, if he knew how dumb I was. So anyway, thanks for that. So this is what I want to say. Because you said I bought the business. Like, is this a franchise or is this just something that you can buy? Like what did you buy? And obviously you had a great experience. That's why you wanted to buy it. But like, how did you get into this?
Yeah. So actually, when I chose not to go to law school and do the MBA route, I went and apprenticed to the CEO of a fast growing accounting company. We were building accounting technology at the time. And so I came in as employee number 20-ish, and I basically became his right hand. And this was all through my apprenticeship as part of Praxis. Wow. And I came in right before the company raised a Series A, and the company blew up. Like, it took off. And for 3.5 years, I got a front row seat to how to build a business, how to grow a business, how to hire, how to fire, how to forecast, how to plan, how to fundraise, how to, all of the things that were kind of what I was originally looking for when I thought I need to go back to law school or an MBA. And so 3.5 years later, I walked out with, an MBA basically in the real world that I'd gotten paid to learn directly from the CEO at
kind of valuable.
Kind of at the perfect stage of a business. And so I reached that point where it's like, I know I want to go do my own thing. I don't know what that is yet. I know I have skills now. I know that I have a lot of value to bring, but I'm not really sure, what's next. And so I was still very close friends with the founder and CEO of the company, and they wanted to launch another software company at the time, kind of in the same niche. And so I jumped ship to come help him launch that. And basically out of Praxis, they launched another business and they had a great thing going with Praxis with the apprenticeship program. But the CEO and founder was going a different direction on a new venture. And it's like, we've got this great business. Somebody needs to take over. So the CEO and I, who are close friends, and he's been on the Praxis team since very early on, we kind of like perfect storm, like right place, right time with the right experience. And also just like both of us had been customers of this business. And it was like, this is the thing for us. This is the next step. And so we just had the opportunity to kind of step in and take over this business that both of us were raving fans of already, while the CEO and original founder kind of went his other direction. So we got to kind of like, it was kind of like a passing of the torch. That's the same guy who the CEO and founder is the same guy who gave me that challenge years ago of give me 1 year. And so it was a really cool opportunity to just right place, right time. But, if you believe in that kind of thing, I kind of more think like if you do good work and, you keep your head down, you keep working hard and you keep optimistic, like those kind of opportunities will find you in life. And that's sort of what happened for both of us. And so we're really excited to be at the helm now and really excited about the future, especially in the landscape of the times we're in now, when you're looking at like college and young adults and all.
Because everyone's focusing on value. I want value from it. So let's say you have young Philip in your program. And so how do you place young Philip? Like, obviously I'm quirky and weird. And so you do your assessments, I'm sure, right? I'm not speaking for you. So like, what do you do to try to figure out what I'm good at? And then how do you place me in a place? Do you have like multiple companies that you normally put people with? Or like, oh, this Philip guy, there's no company out there that's going to match this poor kid. So do you go make that relationship? I'm concerned. Like, I'm confused.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So it's actually a little bit different. So, I would say a lot of the traditional thoughts about higher education are, hey, you come and you pay this institution, they're going to, they're going to give you all the things you need. You have to follow their rules and do that. But our process and really philosophy is much more about self-directed learning. And so we take them, we take every apprentice, if you will, through a curriculum, but largely it's less about us assessing them and telling them, hey, here's what you should do, and more so about us facilitating that discovery process. I tell all of our apprentices and their parents when I'm talking to them about, before they make the decision to apply for a program, is like, our goal is not, you're not going to come out of our program knowing, hey, this is what I want to do for the rest of your life. What you can expect is we're going to help you make the strongest start possible. Your career is a discovery process. It's something that as you get out into the real world, you gain experience, you gain context, you gain confidence, you're going to identify more opportunities that help you get closer. But our goal is to help you make that start. So as far as the placement process goes, it's kind of an extension of that same philosophy of self-discovery. We're going to help you identify opportunities. We do have business partners all over the country. Very easy for us to make those introductions, but we also want to teach you a new way to think about identifying and creating opportunities for yourself. We have a proven process that we have perfected over, better part of a decade now, to go out and get attention from employers and basically get your foot in the door, whether you have a degree or not, whether you have the experience or not. If you can go get attention by leading with value, you're going to have a much better shot of having an opportunity open up for you.
I'm just laughing because this is like truly my life. Like, I did an internship at Dowling Catholic with Dr. Jim Doddle, and it was a leadership internship. And at the end of that summer, he's like, Philip, like, I really want to help you get the best jump into this deal. So he pooled all the network of the students at Dowling Catholic. And he was like, let's go talk to the biggest, highest, the most influential people that we know from our student population. So we talked to like Meredith Corporation, ING, ITA Group, Abbott Laboratories. So it was like really strong companies.
Yep.
And like, that's exactly what they did. Like, I want to introduce you in a place that like, I'm almost vouching for you. Does that make sense? Like, and hey, it worked out great because one of those companies, I'd say two of those companies I work for later in my career. ITA Group is where I started. And then I moved to Abbott Laboratories later. So, I mean, I was doing Praxis.
You could have saved yourself 4 years of college.
I know. What was I doing? Oh, heavens. So like, I love this. I mean, I just love this.
What $12,000 is a lot for some families, right? And it's a fraction of what a lot of families are looking at to paying those. So, caveating that. But like, you're a for-profit business, is what I'm gathering. So, unlike a state university or something like that, how do people? What are their options to paying the tuition, so to speak?
Yep. So pretty straightforward now. I mean, you can pay up front or you can finance it with one of our lending partners that we vetted. And ultimately, our graduates, even the ones who are choosing to finance it, they're walking away, 30 months from the time they start a job with tuition completely paid off. That's part of the low price point, but our prices have not changed since we started the program, back in 2013. So you're looking at, compared to what? And the average college tuition just continues to climb. We are committed to making it one of those things. Like I always talk about this. Like we want to facilitate WTF experience. Like, I won't drop it here on the show, but we want people to walk out and be like,
we all know what it means.
Yeah. We want people to walk out. Like, I truly want people to walk out and be like, this was a milestone for me. This was a transformative experience. I feel like, if I would have gone a different route, I would not have had as awesome of an outcome. And so it all goes together back to the philosophy, even the price point, the tuition, the different options we offer to pay for that. And sort of the implicit guarantee there that, if you don't get a job, you don't pay for the program. And if you go through the program, you're going to earn more than the cost of the program. We are so confident in our process and, knowing that if you take an uncommon route, if you take this unconventional method, if you bet on yourself, you will have awesome results. And the funny thing is, like, colleges, they will not offer these types of guarantees. And this isn't to toot our own horn. This is more so about promoting this idea that there are better alternatives than the traditional model that refuses to put skin in the game and students' success.
Yeah.
So true. It's funny because Brian, I just, we're launching a book. Like we just wrote a book and it's Uncommon Wealth. And the tagline is, you are your best asset. Invest in yourself. Yeah. Invest in yourself. Like, and there's not a lot of people that are teaching that.
Yep.
So I just love that. How many employees do you have at Praxis?
We have 5 full-time employees and then a network of coaches, advisors, contractors that, we've built those relationships over, the course of the business.
Nice. What's the future of Praxis? Where are you going?
Yeah, so that's always a fun question, and I'll try not to get too lost in the weeds because it's one that, how big is too big? I like to think about the best possible case, but
we'd like to go big.
It's more so about like the tangible things, and right now the top goal is like we want to create the best possible apprenticeship experience and program available. And we want to do that. So, for the right type of person, we are not trying to create a one size fits all solution. I think that that's a wrong approach to higher education and kind of professional services. More so what we're trying to do is create the best ultimate experience for the right type of person. And that's the ambitious young person, the entrepreneurial young person, the young adult who says, hey, there's got to be something else out there. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get started, but I'm willing to bet on myself and I'm willing to work hard. And that is like all the right material that you need to be successful in our program, but it's not for everyone.
Right.
Yeah, we've definitely learned that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. You can't teach that. There's like with kids in sports, there's the kids that kind of have that winning edge, and then there's the kids that don't. And you can't necessarily coach that. You can't teach that sometimes. It's like you have it or you don't have it. Not to say people can't become entrepreneurs, but there is a major mindset shift that has to take place to do this, because I agree, like with you, there's so much ingrained in our society with college. It's interesting. I had my freshman orientation for my daughter. She's graduating middle school and going to high school. And in the program, I mean, this is what you need to graduate. And then they got the logos of the universities like Iowa, Iowa State, UNI. And then these are the other schools, 2-year schools. And like, it's all just pointing you before she even walks in the door, pointing you to that end mine. And I'm like, well, that's one avenue. I mean, it's, she does kind of, I think, want to be a lawyer. So, that could be a path for sure in law school. But there's also another path. And I'm just so tired of that university mindset as like plan A. Yep. I think it should be plan B.
I agree.
And we've never seen...
For the right person. I think that's always...
Yeah. And I think we've never seen that gap year alternative of like, yeah, gap year makes sense, but like, don't go backpack through Europe. You're not going to find yourself there, I promise you. Yeah. In terms of like what you were gifted and designed to do. And this program and what you guys have built is just phenomenal.
Mitchell, how do we help you get to where you want to go? Like, how can we help?
Yeah, I mean, always spread the word is great, but if you have parents or clients or young adults out there in your network that are asking those kind of questions, like, hey, what are my options? Like, those are the types of people I want to have conversations with on a daily basis. I mean, I think you make a good point that college shouldn't necessarily be the plan A. I don't necessarily know that Praxis should be the plan A. What I think should be the plan A, and this goes out to all the parents or clients you have, like plan A is getting clarity as a young adult, getting clarity about, hey, what are my options? What are the things I'm interested in? What is the right next steps given the farthest result or outcome that I can see as desirable to me? And for some young adults, maybe going to college is the right decision. You already know at 18, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like, maybe you'll get there faster going this way. Maybe you could go intern. There are definitely more cost-effective ways to do it. But plan A should be go get clarity and go get started. And that could be at college. That could be working the trades. It could be doing Praxis. It could be going and getting a job. But don't go put yourself into a situation where you're now bearing the cost, very high cost of not knowing what you wanted. and like being strapped down with that cost for years and years and years. And that's, I think spreading that message is probably the best way you can help us and the people out there, is just telling people, hey, go find clarity first and figure out the most efficient way to do it once you have that clarity.
That's good.
We've kind of we started partnering with Junior Achievement a little bit. We've sponsored an elementary school, and their curriculum runs out, but they're very geared to partner with schools, volunteers, to kind of embed into the school district. What's your relationship, or let's say a parent is like, man, I want to get my high school involved with this, or so. When that student's meeting with the guidance counselor, or the people come in from Iowa State or Iowa, which is great. Like, again, I think a lot of great things happen at those universities. Please don't hear that. I went to Creighton University, had a great experience. All that, I think is for a lot of people. But what is your inroads into kind of the public school setting as an option that junior, senior year as you're kind of planning that transition?
Yeah, I mean, we always love to have those conversations or do workshops for schools, or for any time we can get a captive audience of young adults. We have partnerships with different homeschool organizations, which I think is kind of a like more natural fit, where you have a self-directed learning experience. The unfortunate fact of the matter is that a lot of schools across the country, they measure their success by the attrition rate. Like how many of my graduating students, have certain test scores, and how many are then matriculating to college. And that's not, unfortunately, for those administrators that have to measure themselves by that. Like, even if they want to explore other options, usually they have funding tied to those metrics. And so it can be somewhat of a sticky situation to go and try and create formal partnerships with institutions. But the best thing that we can do is just get information in front of them, have those conversations. We like working with any student who wants to work hard and wants to go an unconventional route.
I want to ask one more question, because I know we're kind of getting to the end of things here. So I want to go quick. I want to flip the tables a little bit, because we're hearing a lot in the news, and we just actually heard this from a client the other day. He actually owns and operates some Dairy Queens, and we met at a Dairy Queen, and the inside was closed, but the drive-through was open, and we're like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I can't get people hired to work here to even handle the inside traffic. We can only handle the drive-through traffic with the people that we have staffed. And so, and he's offering people almost $15 to $20 an hour, and they're saying no. We're an employer. We're looking to grow. We're looking to hire. How do employers partner with Praxis to find that next generation?
Yeah, I mean, they can always just come to our website, or can shoot me an email, mitchell@discoverpraxis.com. I love to have those conversations. I will be completely honest, though. We look for a certain type of business, and the type of business we're looking for is, we want an environment and business that's growing fast, somewhere where when it's your first job, you can walk away with that, knowing how a business works. You have the opportunity to grow, expand your skill set. I love it when it's when it is in proximity to a founder or not entrepreneur, especially. So like, let's use that Dairy Queen example. I don't think working at a Dairy Queen as a register staff would be something any of our Praxis participants would want to do, because they have more potential that can be unlocked and more valuable skills by the time they come out of our program. Now, being the right hand to that Dairy Queen operator who wants to expand his franchise from 1 location to 5 locations, like, that's the caliber of opportunity that we are looking for our participants. People like, you want to go be in the action and not just have kind of you want to be a player mindset. Absolutely.
You want to be a player, not just someone on a really good team. Okay. Here's my last 2 questions, because we could talk all day with the best friends, Mitchell. All right. And they're fun questions. So I'm going to give you like a serious one, and then we're going to do a fun one, because I like to just get your personality. Okay. If you were going to boil down winning in one word, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I think my immediate reaction is like, you know what, you got to get clear about the results you want, and not the results you feel like are expected of you. And that for me, I think is kind of the path to freedom. in life. And for me, that's what winning means, is like you get to that ultimate freedom. But it looks a little bit different for all of us. And so it's getting clear about the results you want, and then defining the routes or the tactics to go achieve that result. But unfortunately, too many people get caught up in the tactics before they're clear about where they want to go. And often that's what gets you off course.
Good. Okay, my last one, fun one. You're invisible for 2 weeks. What do you do? Where do you go? You're invisible. No one's seeing you. Where are you going?
Oh my gosh. Well, assuming that I can like shirk off all my work responsibilities in the day-to-day for a while, I think that, that would be such a cool opportunity to go be a fly on the wall under the houses or the offices of all the big thinkers or people that I would want to learn from. Think of it as like kind of a free pass apprenticeship for 2 weeks. Right. It would be an awesome time to just observe people in their element that I think are doing excellent work and learn from them.
Okay. So where are you going?
Oh man. Right now, there are probably a handful of different people who are doing different real estate investing that I love. Like I would love to go observe the day-to-day operations of the people who run Bigger Pockets and different guests that they've had. I think some other thinkers that I'm really fascinated by right now, like Jordan Peterson, Nassim Taleb, not to be like like rah-rah, what's the most populist philosophers of the day, but anybody who is writing and creating content that's like trying to do different work.
You're always welcome in our office.
Yeah. Maybe you guys, people who are taking an uncommon approach, I always like observing and learning from them. So,
right. Okay. Awesome. How do our listeners get more information about you and Praxis?
Yeah. So we actually have a page up specifically for your listeners, discoverpraxis.com/uncommonwealth. They can go there. They can download a free book called Forward Tilt that our team has written, as well as get a little bit more information about our program guide. And then the last thing, as a courtesy, for all of your listeners who are already subscribing to the ideas of how do I live an uncommon life, we'd like to offer $1,000 tuition scholarship to anybody who goes to that page.
Shut up. Let's go.
If they apply to the program and are accepted, we'll automatically apply it to their tuition.
Oh my gosh.
That just gave me chills. Thank you.
Mitchell, that was amazing.
Yeah. Mitchell, thank you for all you're doing. Gosh, thank you for just investing in yourself and investing in others. And that's one of the things that we really talk about is this uncommon life is if you are impacting others, that's the key thing. Not this whole wealth thing, not this amass all this wealth. How many people are you actually impacting? Brother, You're doing it. I'm super grateful to even just have this time with you. Thank you for everything you're doing. Keep going.
I don't say this. We don't say this a lot.
Oh dear. He's going to tell you love him. No?
I think you're one of those people, and this is one of those projects we should check in on like a year from now, 2 years from now. Because like Philip said, this is so important. Our country is in a point of flux. And I think we've gotten away with some of the things that made us successful as we were. And I think you guys are on the front lines of that with the next generation. So
really
it'd be fun to touch base with you guys in a year, 18 months and see what's going on there. So
yeah, we'd love that. Thank you guys. It's been an honor and glad you invited me on the show.
Absolutely. You've been listening to the Uncommon Life Project. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I am Brian Dewhurst.
Until next time, go be uncommon.
Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
That's all for this episode of the Uncommon Life Project, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.